My name is Alice. There was an event that reminded me once again, there are no ordinary days within the tranquil stream of time. Today, I would like to share that story. First, let me start with my background. I was born into this world as the only child of elderly parents in a rural seaside town. I would assume that they were delighted when their long-awaited child was born. Normally, you would think so, but reality was different. Due to the stress of long-term infertility treatments and parenting neurosis, my mother took her own life when I was 2 years old. My father, who was left behind, couldn't recover from my mother's death and was overtaken by mental illness. In such circumstances, there was no way he could raise me who was still young, and as there were no relatives who could take me in, I was left at an orphanage. Life in the orphanage was not something I could honestly consider enjoyable. It was not like modern facilities where proper care is taken for the children, so my heart was never at ease. But as I had been living there from the age of 2, it had become my daily life. However, I never experienced someone pouring their special affection towards me, so I grew up without knowing what it felt like to love someone or to be loved. However, it was at my first job where I encountered a twist of fate. I was working at a small development company, doing menial tasks like making tea and photocopying. One day, a man named Liam came to visit. He was there to discuss the exterior and natural environment of a newly constructed park. At the time he arrived, the department head who was supposed to meet him was on the phone. So I served Liam some tea and explained the situation. Liam, a gentleman of soft demeanor, thanked me warmly as he took the tea with both hands. "Thank you," he said. To be honest, no one had ever thanked me in such a way for the tea I served them, being merely in charge of odd jobs. His courtesy surprised me, as these farts occupied my mind. A catalog that he had left on the table caught my eye. It was filled with vibrant, colorful flowers. "Do you like flowers?" he asked. I was surprised. Then I came back to my senses and apologized for my distraction. "I'm sorry," I mumbled. "There's nothing to apologize for. So, do you like them?" he asked again. "Yes, I do. I grow them myself. Their small bodies striving to bloom beautifully gives me so much courage," I answered. Liam's face brightened. "Me too. That's why I brought this catalog. I absolutely want to plant flowers in the park." He seemed genuinely excited sharing this with me. Experiencing this feeling of shared liking with someone for the first time overwhelmed me with emotions that I had never before felt. There was confusion, but it was indeed something warm. From then on, Liam often visited our company for work, and each time, he would excitedly show me new photos or catalogs of flowers. Gradually, I found myself eagerly anticipating his visits. One day, he invited me to a place where beautiful flowers were blooming. "Would you like to come with me?" he asked. He confessed his feelings to me on that date, and we began our romantic relationship. Liam, like the warm sunlight, had lit up my heart, which I had thought was incapable of love. Since then, my world seemed noticeably brighter, a transformation that I can never forget. When I was 25, he proposed, and we got married. My 20s were like a dream, filled with happiness and smooth sailing. Considering my traumatic childhood, it felt like happiness had come pouring down all at once. However, there was one event that led me into despair. We, as a couple, were unable to conceive a child. I had heard from my relatives that my mother had fertility issues, and though I wasn't sure if it was hereditary, I cursed my own life again. Although nowadays, choosing to marry and have a baby is considered a personal decision, at that time, Not being able to have a child was a significant problem. Fortunately, I was estranged from my own relatives, and his family were genuinely kind people who never blamed me. However, I blamed myself and began to live a life of seclusion. I am just like my mother. I fought, but I couldn't control my emotions. Yet again, it was Liam who rescued me.
I didn't marry you because I wanted children. Of course, if a child is born while we're together, it would surely be a joy. But what's most important is that you are healthy and smiling. There is nothing happier than that.
Every day, he would comfort me, who had isolated myself, with such words. Thanks to that, I was gradually able to regain a positive outlook. And when I was 35 and he was 37, the child we had long been waiting for came into our lives. We were truly overjoyed as a couple, and he thanked me many times. However, I always thought those were my words to him. When we found out that the baby in my womb was a girl, we decided on a name together. Like the beautiful flower that brought us together, we wanted her to give love to many people. With that thought, we decided to name her Ella, but he left this world without ever meeting Ella. He was 38. Who could have imagined that he would suddenly pass away in a traffic accident? Neither his mother, who lived with us, nor me, nor the unborn Ella, ever imagined that such a thing could happen. I felt like I was being swallowed by a wave of loneliness again, but the life inside me gave me the hope to live. My mother-in-law, like my own mother, cared for me kindly, and I was able to overcome childbirth and child-rearing. Even if he is not here, even if I can't meet him, it is certain that he was here. That's an indisputable fact. The growing Ella seemed to prove it.
Mom, I got sunflower seeds at school.
Ella, who resembles both of us, has grown into a child who loves flowers. But our house doesn't have a large garden, so we couldn't really grow plants. Even if Ella tried to plant and grow the seeds she got like this, there were only a handful of times they grew successfully. Someday, I want to try growing flowers in a large garden. Ella and I both dreamed. Although I work during the day, my income as a junior high school graduate is limited. Living in a house with a large garden is a dream within a dream. The situation is such that there are virtually no hopes that can realistically come true.
They're already selling tulips.
One day, my mother-in-law brought home tulips she had bought from a florist. She was surprised to find tulips, well known as spring flowers, at this middle of autumn and winter season. That single tulip definitely brightened our hearts. They really are cute, aren't they? I loved the time when I chose a vase that suited the flowers with my mother-in-law from several we had.
Alice, you really love flowers, don't you?
Her smiling face, saying this, was exactly like his. Wrapped in a warm and calm atmosphere, I, who didn't know motherly love, I think I was receiving a lot of warm love from my mother-in-law. In this way, my mother-in-law goes out almost every day to buy flowers and bring them home. Surprisingly, this has been going on since before Ella was born. I guess she purposely went out to buy flowers to cheer me up after he died. I was very happy about that, but as my mother-in-law grew older, her walking speed became significantly slower recently. So I asked her once, "Can I come with you?"
It's okay, it's nearby, and I'm used to it.
And she would insist on going alone. Furthermore, she would occasionally call somewhere, but she never told me who she was talking to. I wondered why the not particularly stubborn mother-in-law was bending about this, but I didn't push it. I love my mother-in-law and trust her a lot, but after all, a stranger is a stranger, so there might be things she doesn't want to say. I felt a little lonely in this way. But I found out the reason for my mother-in-law's actions just the other day, 20 years after Ella was born. Ella, who had advanced to university, was still commuting from home as usual. That day, her classes started in the afternoon, so she was taking it easy at home in the morning. She said she was going to be celebrated by her friends in the evening, so we had a family party the day before. I was in the kitchen to clean up breakfast when my mother-in-law spoke.
Alice, Ella, can you come with me?
It was unusual for my mother-in-law to invite us outside like this. Ella and I, wondering what it could be, followed her. We walked through a path less traveled and reached a green, lush mountain path in about 15 minutes. The place where we lived was a bit peculiar. A short walk would take us to greenery, and in the opposite direction, a train station. However, we rarely had any reason to go towards nature, so this was an unexplored path. Therefore, we had no idea what my mother-in-law intended to do. Once we passed the slightly dark path due to the shadows of the green trees, we arrived at a bright space with no trees. There, Ella and I were so surprised that we were speechless.
Wow, what is this? It's too beautiful.
The first to react was Ella. True enough, there were tens of kinds of colorful flowers planted there, creating a painting-like flower field. We had no idea that such a place existed. We had never seen such a beautiful flower field before, but it felt somewhat familiar. As I was racking my memory, my mother-in-law spoke.
This is a gift for Alice and Ella.
Upon hearing that, Ella looked surprised and asked,
What? Did Granny create this for us?
However, my mother-in-law shook her head and said something unbelievable.
This is a flower field that Ella's father created for you too.
What? Ella and I were shocked. After all, he had passed away 20 years ago. To our disbelief, my mother-in-law took out an old piece of paper from her bag. I recognized that paper. It was the cover of the catalog that brought him and me together. And the flower field printed on the cover looked very much like the one in front of us now.
When he found out that Ella was coming into Alice's belly, he thought of a present and told me about it. He wanted to create the most beautiful flower field in the world. It might not be ready immediately, but he planned to grow it with love and present it on Ella's 20th birthday. A gift for Ella, who has grown up healthily, and for Alice, who has raised her for 20 years.
Upon hearing this, tears welled up in my eyes and started to flow.
He consulted with a gardener, planned for the long term, and when it was just about time to get started.
She couldn't finish her sentence and started crying as well.
Granny.
Ella gently rubbed my mother-in-law's back.
That's why I wanted to pass on the last gift he left behind to both of you.
Hearing that, I finally understood the answer to her mysterious actions. To make us happy, she secretly came here almost every day for 20 years and nurtured these flowers. That's why she had been so insistent on going out alone and handling the calls with the gardener. Thank you. As I said this through my tears, she smiled with a gentle smile that was very much like his. Wiping my tears, I gazed at the flower field again. It felt as if I had stepped into the dreamlike world that was in the catalog I saw the day I met him. Even though he had passed away 20 years ago, like a gentle sun always supporting me, he was still illuminating my heart in this way. Ella, your father was a truly kind and wonderful man. Holding Ella's hand and gazing at the flower field, I said this. Then, a tear streamed down Ella's cheek.
I know, I've always wanted to meet him,
she said and smiled. Whether Ella's words were her imagining her father in this gentle flower field, or memories from when she was a fetus, I truly don't know. However, it made me very happy to feel that his warmth was being passed down to my daughter Ella. Since then, this flower field has become our treasure, and Ella and I decided to continue protecting it in place of my mother-in-law. Strangely enough, as the time since his death continues to pass, I feel his presence closer than ever. The miraculous flower field, which was supposed to only exist in my heart, has become our reality thanks to his kindness. And the person who connected us to it, my mother-in-law, is also like a shining sun. I want to continue to live without forgetting to be thankful for the everyday miracle of being able to protect such a flower field, because I am certain that he is looking down on the flower field from the sky.